Welcome back everyone! Have you ever had that experience when you were browsing the internet and out of the shadows a dress pops up that's just so beautiful and so far up your alley that you just need to have it right now? That's what happened to me when I saw a still shot of a dress from Dior's 2022 Fall Couture Collection. I bought this beautiful tartan fabric years ago, but no project seemed good enough for it. So it was a match made in heaven. That night after work, I went home and I started making the mock-up for the bodice right away. After inspecting the pictures that exist of this dress on the internet, I came to a couple of conclusions. First of all, I think the bodice is bone because it looks very stiff and it's shaped by two darts that are slightly angled towards the side seams. After making my first mock-up, I also have a hunch that the strap that's braided is only cut in half, and the third one is added from the back. If you look at here, you can kind of see this little V shape that the two strands make going around the third one coming from the back. There is also a width limit on these individual straps, as they are cut from the front panel that has to end in quite a point here. I also want to line each individual strap, so I kind of need a seam allowance on each and every one of them. So this is my solution. It might not be the right one, but until I can go and inspect one of these dresses in person, it will be my only one. So once I was done with all this mental gymnastics and 3 to 4 mock-ups, I started cutting my fabric super carefully. I wanted one of the yellow lines to be at the exact center, so I folded it there and pinned it through each and every cross, so the two sides would be exact mirrors of each other. For a couture dress, it is fine to be boned, but I wanted to wear this dress every single day for the rest of my life. So instead of boning the bodice, I decided to stiffen it with interfacing. Add a layer of stiff linen, and I lined it all with some black cotton. The first step was to sew all the darts on all the layers, front and back. I saw this hack on how to sew seamless darts a while back, and I've been using it ever since. Basically, you go until you're nearly at the very point of the dart, but a couple centimeters before it, you start curving it and near parallel the folded edge until it slowly reaches it. I hope that makes sense. Now you just have to carefully iron it, and voila! At this point, I decided to iron a flat piece of interfacing on both panels of the fashion fabric to try and stiffen them into a nice flat submission. I came to regret that decision very soon. So the pieces wouldn't shift from each other, before lining them, I stitched the linen layer to the fashion fabric all around the edges. This was also a mistake, as I very soon remembered a technique where you sew the selvage of the darts from both layers together on the inside to make sure that the stiff inner layer and the tartan doesn't bag away from each other. So I ripped out the stitches on the bottom and freed the selvage of the tartan's dart. I trimmed the selvage of the stiffening layer because I was worried about the bulk, and sew them together as close to their original sewing lengths as I could. And after all that, I tried to iron everything back into shape so I can stitch the edges together again. I decided to attach the lining separately to the front and back panels because I wanted to line all 3 strands of the braided strap individually, and to be able to turn them inside out, this seemed like the best option. To complicate things even further, I wanted to understitch as much of the edges as I possibly could, so the lining would never peek out. To make that possible, I went one by one, sewing the neckline first, then understitched it, then the same process on the arm size. So I'm gonna work on the front of the bodice now, and I'm gonna do it in parts, the same way I did the back piece. I'm gonna first sew the neckline, and then I'm gonna understitch it, and then I'm gonna sew the 2 underarm slash shoulder parts. And I'm gonna try and understitch that as much as I can. I might have to cut it in half first and understitch it, and then maybe try and sew up this middle part and turn it inside out. I have it down in theory. I'm not sure how it will work out in real life.
Then I turned everything inside out and pressed it flat. I sewed up one of the side seams and, maybe a bit prematurely, attached the zipper. Then I could finally braid the straps. This part was fun. And I hand-stitched the straps to the back panel.
So I couldn't wait any longer and I put the zipper in just to see how the top fits, and I'm super happy with it. Now I just need to figure out what to do with the skirt, because the way it's pleated here, I think it looks a little bit messy. I think it's like double, maybe even triple pleated. So I will have to figure out something that gives its fullness like that. But I think I will make the pleats a little bit nicer. Ignore this. This is a project that's halfway through its construction. And I cannot take it off because then I will lose all this progress I made. But I still need to use the dress form to pleat the skirt, so just ignore what's on here. So now I'm testing two different pleat types. This left side is double box pleated, which just means that every pleat is actually two pleats. And this side is double knife pleated. Again, just two pleats in every single pleat. I think the left side looks a bit more neat, but the right side is maybe a little more accurate. I don't know which one I prefer. So version 2 for the right side. From here you have normal double pleats until here, where I turned this last pleat back, so it's a box pleat, this one. And this kind of makes it that this dart is mirrored down here into a double box pleat, which kind of opens up the skirt into this dart shape, mirroring the dart on the bodice, which I kind of like. But I still don't know which side I like better. Ultimately, the goal is to kind of keep this front part smooth, because that's where your stomach is and you don't want extra bulk there. And maybe giving the fullness of the skirt onto the sides a bit, which I don't have right now. I kind of like this idea of the box pleat here, but I also want to add more fullness to the sides, which right now there is nothing here. So let's go for version 3. So I think I finally arrived at something I like. This middle piece is a box pleat, but a simple one. Also a simple pleat, a simple knife pleat. This is a double one. I left it here at this seam because I liked how it looked, but I didn't like that the front facing was double. It kind of took too much attention to itself. So I left this one as a single, but the one facing towards the back, that's a double one, because that you can't see that much from if you're looking straight onto the dress. And here on the side, I don't know if you can see it, we have one last box pleat. The back panel will be the same, so there will be a box pleat here, and then that pleat on the seam, the box pleat on either side, and the same way as it is on the front.
I pinned all of it together with all the needles in the world and stay stitched the top edge of it. I sewed the back panel to the front panel and put it back on the dummy to try and figure out the pleats on the back. With that done, pinned and also stay stitched, I sewed the skirt and the bodice together, finished the zipper up, and all that was left now was to clean up the edges. Because this is a super fancy couture dress, I made extra effort to do everything the way it's supposed to be. First of all, I hemmed the whole skirt. Then I serged everything. I bias taped the side seams individually, so they wouldn't be too bulky either, and stitched them to the lining by hand. I also cross-stitched the waist seam down towards the skirt panel to reduce the bulk at the waist and add volume to the skirt. I even stitched a tiny rectangle of bias tape to where I attached the extra third strand of the strap to the bodice to hide its raw edge. And even though all that extra effort took me about another day to finish, I'm so proud of how professional it came out looking.